Welcome guys! Today I will be talking about 15 ways to improve your levels in Geometry Dash. These things will help you if you are a newer creator in Geometry Dash. Okay, so for the next tip is to get inspiration from other levels. Sometimes you can just get stuck on a part on a level and just have no ideas on what you can do next. One thing I like to do when I have just really no ideas is just scroll through the featured tab. Just go into the featured tab and find some cool levels that you think look cool, and then just play them and get inspiration from them. But also do not just copy the levels. There's a big difference between copying and getting inspiration. Don't just take what they have and use it for yourself. You can take their idea and you can add on to it, but don't just steal what they have. Try to keep your level simplistic. Having cool, complex looking levels is really awesome and they can be done really well, but you have to do it right. If you're a newer creator and don't have much experience in the editor, then I'd recommend starting off with more simple designs. You don't want to create this. And even experienced creators can over-decorate their levels sometimes. Just in general, a lot of detail is good if you do it right, but it can be bad, so you want to try to keep your level simple. Add movement to the level. Oftentimes, one thing I see a lot of creators do is make very static levels with barely any movement. Look at these two levels and tell me which one is better. The one that has more movement or the one that has less movement. You don't always have to go crazy with the movement because sometimes that can cause lag, but adding some movement can drastically improve a boring level. One thing I recommend is adding a background or some parallax effects. That is an easy way to have some movement and make it look better. It doesn't have to be some crazy visual effect, it can just be something simple. One of my favorite things to do in my level, and I do this in almost all my levels, I add a custom background. They make levels just look so much better, they make them feel a lot less empty. Oftentimes, if parts of your level just feel empty or under-decorated, often you can just add a custom background. This is also a way to use less objects than you normally would have because it lasts a lot longer in your level than normal just like non-moving design. If you have multiple layers of movement in your background, it can give the level a lot of movement and improve it. The easiest way to make this is to put a background on a group, then put a move trigger down, select follow x-axis, put the group, and set the time to however long you want it to go on. Get feedback from others. One thing that can happen when creating levels is that you can overestimate how good your level is. Sometimes you can underestimate, but usually you can overestimate just due to personal biases. And this is why it's often a good idea to ask someone else to help review your level and get feedback from them. One important thing to remember is don't take all of people's criticism. Sometimes people can just have bad criticism that you don't need to take. Often when you spend a lot of time making a level, and this amount of time can often lead you to think it's better than it is. In some cases it can make you think it's worse than it is. And another way you can do it is to just go to the featured section and compare levels there. But it's even better to get feedback from others before you do it. Okay, so the next one is to have a color scheme. You want to have only a few colors that you use in a part. Just have a set color scheme and stick to those colors. It'll look a lot better that way in most cases. If you have too many random colors, then that can lead to your level looking messy and bad. So once you choose a color scheme, then you can start creating the level around the color scheme. Another thing along with colors is to have a good color scheme. Because if you have a good color scheme, it can make your level look really good instantly, and if you have a bad color scheme, it can make your level look really good. If you have a color scheme that's too bright or too bad, then it'll look very bad, so you want to have a good color scheme. Originality is a factor in levels that I see a lot of people just ignoring. A lot of the levels in the featured tab that you see are just so generic. A lot of them look so similar to each other. That is how you know a level is very generic, and that's what a lot of levels are. If you make it interesting, have some unique ideas, stuff that isn't really done that often in GD, and just try to be as unique as possible, that'll make your level way better, and it'll make it more likely to get rated too. So I highly recommend making it more unique. Next, we're going to talk about how well the parts of your level flow together. One thing that annoys me in many levels, especially mega collabs, is when you have two different parts that look nothing like each other side by side with no transitions. If you have two parts that have vastly different decoration without a transition, then that can look really bad. I've seen a lot of instances of this happening where it just looks really bad. Another thing is that if you have two parts that are completely different themes. This is another thing I see in levels where two parts of a level just have completely different themes that don't really work with each other, and it just makes the level go down as a whole. So I recommend you to have a similar theme and try to have your level be very cohesive. Another thing you can do to really keep your level fresh and interesting is to have points of interest in the level. What this means is to have a type of deco that really catches your eye more than other types. Just have a piece of deco that catches your eye more than others, like say adding just a piece of glow to something that wouldn't have it otherwise, and just having something that's a lot brighter than the others. Adding stuff that really catches the eye a lot more will keep your level, make it feel a lot more fresh and just better. Try to make sight-readable gameplay. This especially applies to easier levels that are not demon levels. When you're making the gameplay for a level, it's a good idea to try to make it sight-readable and easy to see where you're supposed to go from the first time playing it. Some things to avoid in your gameplay to make it more sight-readable are bad transitions. Not making a demon, then you should have sight-readable gameplay in mind. Glow is an extremely useful tool if you know how to use it. There are so many things you can do with glow to make your level look miles better, although overusing it isn't good either. But it's so useful anyways. Having a piece of glow on blending can highlight an object you want to stand out more. There is literally so many things you can do with glow. It is probably one of the most useful items in the game in terms of decorating, and there's so many things you can do with it. You can add T3 glow and a really scaled up glow and low opacity to make your level look better in a lot of cases. You can have glow circles, you can have a lot of things. Without glow, the game would not look anywhere near as good as it does now. This is a very good thing to use in your levels. The next one is a mistake that I see a lot of newer creators make. Even older creators can often make this mistake. If you have a custom background, you have to make it look different from the just normal gameplay. And I see a lot of people making the mistake where it looks too similar to the gameplay elements, and it's really hard to sight read because the background just looks very similar to the gameplay elements. The easiest way to fix this is have your background be darker than your ground, and you can just make it look different. There are a lot of ways to make it look different. You can make the background lighter. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Just don't make it look like the background. Don't make the foreground look like the background. Here's one tip to help you with your block designs, but also just your level as a whole. Putting patterns in your level, just patterns of any kind, can make your level look a lot better. If you have a lot of random stuff going on, then it can look really messy and bad, but having a pattern that's very consistent in your level can make it look a lot better. And there are many cool things you can do with patterns, from having a cool background to having just a better looking block design. Patterns in your level or block design will make it look a lot better. And last but certainly not least, have patience. You're not going to become the new Colic after 30 minutes in the Geometry Dash editor. Creating is a lot like many things. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And the more you create, the better you'll get at creating. So, what I would recommend is, if you just started the editor, don't be impatient. What you make may look really bad, but you can create a masterpiece one day. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great rest of your day.